Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm going to talk about the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, NAAFA, and I'm just going to call it NAAFA. This is basically all a website, an organization, and there was so much on this website that I could have been on there for hours and hours, and I cannot share all of it with you guys. So I just picked out stuff that I thought was really interesting and talked about that stuff. But I encourage you to visit the website. The National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance is a nonprofit fat rights organization dedicated to protecting the rights and improving the quality of life for fat people. So I'm going to talk about the Why NAAFA page, the About page, the size freedom, the team a little bit, get involved, the Learn page, the blog, and then resources. So why NAAFA? At least 1/3 of the world's population is fat, yet fat people are discriminated against in all aspects of daily life. For over 50 years, NAAFA has worked to make the world a better place for fat people through education, advocacy, and support. We are a multi-generational, intersectional social justice organization creating opportunity for big-bodied people and building community for fat people and our loved ones. So about NAAFA, so one of the really interesting parts, things that I thought was interesting, was that it was founded in 1969 and is recognized as the world's first documented fat acceptance organization. So I'm talking fast because I have so much to say and I know I'm going to go over, so I'm sorry I'm talking so fast. So in 1969, a young man in New York City was getting angry about the way that his fat wife was being treated by the world. He read an article about anti-fatness in U.S. culture, and with the author's help, they created this small group of people and created the National Association to Aid Fat Americans, which is what it was first named. It obviously has changed now to the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. And then also on the other side of the world at the same time, a group of feminists were also angry about the treatment of fat people and formed the Fat Underground. By 1973, they released their groundbreaking Fat Liberation Manifesto. So this was kind of the beginning of the fat rights movement. So the fact that this organization is the first organization that was developed in 1969, I thought was pretty cool. I'm going to really quickly read through the mission and the vision and all of the stuff. The mission of the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance is to change perceptions of fat and end size discrimination through advocacy, education, and support. The vision, we envision a culture where all fat people are free, celebrated, and liberated from every form of oppression. Fat people, our approach. Fat people exist within every marginalized identity. NAAFA is uniquely positioned to work toward liberation for all. Through education, advocacy, and support, NAAFA embodies effective change for individuals, communities, and the world. NAAFA uses its influence and reputation to demand strategic improvements in policies and practices that impact fat people. The commitment to intersectionality. All fat people face weight stigma. Fat people who also represent other marginalized identities are disproportionately impacted by anti-fatness, in addition to the challenges they face because of other biases and oppression in our culture. Okay. The campaign for size is I think one of the really biggest things that they're doing. So along with Solvay Law's Flair Project, which is Solvay's is the last name of an attorney who worked on a lot of high-profile weight discrimination cases, and Flair stands for Fat Legal Advocacy Rights Education. And then with the support of Dove, which co-founded the Campaign for Size Freedom to outlaw body size discrimination, the campaign will strengthen legal protections and shift cultural narratives about body size through education, advocacy, and social responsibility. Since the launch of this campaign in spring of 23, New York City has passed the law which bans height and weight discrimination in employment, housing, and public accommodations, making it the 7th U.S. city to do so. 3 states are considering legislation that would prohibit discrimination based on height and weight. If successful, these states would join Michigan and Washington State in being the only states in the country with explicit protections against body size discrimination. So I think that's pretty cool that we live in Washington State. The most recent law to be passed was in Minneapolis in April 2025. And 3 ways that you can support hashtag size freedom no matter where you live. Show your support on social media, seek out and support local fat positive groups, and donate to fund the movement. This is just a small section, but the team was really diverse and it was all large-bodied women, which I thought was really cool. I also thought that their executive director was really cool. Tigress Osborne, she's on the cover of Time 100 Health, and there's an article called Fighting Weight Discrimination, which is really, really worth reading. So the Get Involved page has, obviously they have events, volunteer opportunities, ways that you can give to NAAFA, and then research participation opportunities. They also have this section on the Southwest Airlines statement and petition. So the Southwest Airlines recently had a size policy change, and I just want to read you guys the change really quick. Customers of size who request a second seat at the airport will only be given a second seat if the flight is not full. If the flight is full, the customer of size will be asked to take the next flight. Customers who purchase a second seat in advance will only receive a refund after their travels if they request it and if every flight on their itinerary was not full. So they are urging you to join them in working to work with advocates for fat and disabled communities to ensure accessibility for all bodies. So they have a section where you can read their whole policy, where you can sign the petition and share your thoughts, fat travel resources, and then frequently asked questions. So I thought that was really cool. Also, the calls to action section. These are initiatives. These are not that are not overseen by NAAFA, but that are supported by NAAFA. And so they have right now this really interesting section on Whole Washington, which is a grassroots coalition of healthcare professionals. I had no idea that this even existed. They've developed a bill in Washington, the Washington Health Trust, which would pay hospitals and doctors directly, eliminating insurance companies. Whole Washington legislation has been reviewed by Flair, the attorney people, and revised to ensure that the bill protects against weight discrimination. So I thought that was kind of cool just because it was in Washington State, and yeah. So under the little learn section, they've obviously throughout their whole website taken a really big stance on Black Lives Matter, and talking about NAAFA as an intersectional fat liberation organization committed to anti-racism. There's a statement that was written after 2020 and all of the events, and it's worth reading. And the anti-racism resources page, they just talk a lot about intersectionality and just the importance of not only anti-fatness, but also anti-racism, anti-discrimination against any marginalized group of people. So I thought that was cool. The size of it is a quantitative review of 1 year of national news coverage that found that a mere 48 articles about anti-fatness were written or published by traditional news sources, and only 24 articles spoke about fat liberation or justice in any way. And you can click there for a full report. You can click on any of these on the website for a full report. I'm just giving you like a little synopsis. The self-care for fat bodies was really interesting. Community recommendations and resources. They had an airline travel, and then they had like a huge section of resources. They had toilet hygiene, and then I clicked on some of them because some of them looked really interesting and really odd, and so I clicked on them and was fascinated by all the resources they have for just toilet hygiene. Healing a split above your butt crack, foot hygiene, soaps, keeping thighs dry, keeping your belly or your apron area dry, itchy stretch marks, bras, and furniture. And all of these have a bunch of resources underneath them for people that are overweight and need these resources. Fat death planning resources. As fat people, there are certain considerations that must be made when planning for death care. Knowledge about your options and making plans can make the process easier for you and your loved ones. So I thought that was interesting. Sorry, I'm going to go faster. Okay, so they have the NAAFA Community Voices blog, which seeks to cover all aspects of the fat experience. If you go to this blog, there are so many different, like, really interesting resources for people that live in fat bodies and just different experiences. And then that's it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and have a good night.